The trap that I see most early stage entrepreneurs fall into when they're starting is
that is the key for the entrepreneurial.
Santiago Naranjo.
Chief Revenue Officer of
Santiago
VTEX.
Naranjo.
Santiago Naranjo and Marc Randolph.
Marc Randolph.
Marc Randolph.
Hi, I'm Marc Randolph.
He's the co-founder of Netflix and author of the best-selling book, That Will Never Work.
They laughed at us.
And first CEO of Netflix.
In 2000, Netflix was very different than the company you might know today.
And that's the sign of a great entrepreneur, in my opinion. It's not
Worst time for bureaucracy, best time for flexibility.
exactly. At the beginning, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I don't know what's going to happen, so let's spend 6 months and spend $1 million and let's build the app and let's do a big launch. No, the trick is to...
I am Santiago Naranjo, and this is where we explore how technology, innovation, and human determination drive exponential growth. It is such an honor to have you here. You are one of the most inspiring entrepreneurs of our time, co-founder and first CEO of Netflix. Welcome.
Well, thanks very much. It's certainly a pleasure to be here and doing what we can to get people innovating.
You have said that nobody knows anything when starting something new. How do you personally deal with uncertainty without becoming paralyzed?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think every single person who's doing something that they haven't done before or that hasn't been done before is going to be scared because doing something you haven't done before, you might get it wrong. And the reality is you're probably going to get it wrong. And so the very, very first thing to do in dealing with this uncertainty is recognize you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to try things that aren't going to work. You're going to do things that might even be embarrassing. And the biggest step, at least for me, has always been being willing to take the step without knowing what's going to happen. But the great thing about that is that I've now done it enough times, I mean, tens of thousands of times, that it changes. It stops being scary. Then it moves into being comfortable, but then it becomes exciting. I mean, doing things you have no idea what's going to happen is one of the greatest thrills in the world. And I think that's and it's all about practice. Once you do it a lot, all of a sudden you recognize, oh, I can't wait to see what happens here.
That is exciting, and you have this experience, and you by yourself inspire a lot of people. I want to ask you, when you get an idea, what is your process to validate it quickly without falling in love with it too soon?
Yeah, that is the flip side of what I was talking about, of trying things that you don't know what's going to happen, is especially when you or your company are early, is you have to learn how to take very small swings. You know, I'm using a North American baseball analogy here, but you have to, you can't say, I don't know what's going to happen, so let's spend 6 months and spend $1 million and let's build the app and let's do a big launch. No, the trick is to figure out what can you do, which is quick and cheap and easy, to find out right away whether you're in the right direction. And I call it validation hacking. Everyone talks about minimal viable products, and I really believe building a minimal viable product is still too much. And the trick is to break your project down into the smallest possible part. And if you think about it, most new ideas are not everything is new. You go, I have an app which is going to do this. Well, this might be new, but the idea of building apps isn't new. The idea of being on a cell phone is not new. The idea of collecting credit card information or subscriptions, none of that is new. So you say, what can I do to just test the new part? And that's the sign of a great entrepreneur, in my opinion. It's not having the idea. It's how clever and creative you can be to figure out some quick and cheap and easy small way to test that idea. And you should be able to do it in 24 hours. and quickly find out whether this is good, this is bad, and there's almost always some learning that comes from that. And you begin to string together enough of those, and little by little, you worm your way towards something that actually does work.
I love the concept of the hack. Yeah, I really make my brain explode. We were always attached to the MVP, but I agree with you. Speaking of that journey of 0 to 10, let's dig into what makes those first steps so challenging. Many entrepreneurs get stuck in the early stage.
Okay.
In your view, what matters the most in those first 12 months of a company?
The trap that I see most early stage entrepreneurs fall into when they're starting in those first 12 months is they think everything has to be perfect. We only have one chance at this. We've got to get everything right. And that's ridiculous, because there are so many things involved in starting a company that if you say, and that's one, it's immense, and you have very few resources probably. It might just be you and a co-founder. It might be you and a co-founder and 2 or 3 teammates. You can't possibly generate the resources to do everything correctly. And what happens is, of course, you try and do everything correctly, and everything gets done 10%. So you do 100% of the things 10% well. And the most important thing to get right is to realize that almost everything else doesn't matter, that there's probably just 1 or maybe 2 things that you have to get right, and that it's perfectly safe to ignore everything else. And that's the skill, which is figuring out what is it that I need to focus on, and then it's having the discipline to focus on it, because that may not be the thing that is calling out the loudest. It may not be the fire that's the hottest. It requires your discipline saying, this part, if I can get this right, all the rest doesn't matter. And apply, if you have, 2 people, you put 95% of both of those people on that one thing and ignore the rest. And listen, you don't have customer service set up, that's fine. That's not going to be what makes it or breaks it. Don't have good accounting or billing, that's fine. That's not what's going to make it or break it. Don't have you fill in the blank. But if you think it's the product that's critical, get that right. If you think it's whatever, that's the thing. It's focus, focus, focus. Eventually, once you have proved something, you'll have the resources to begin getting more and more things right. At the beginning, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That is the key for the entrepreneurial. Mark, let's go a little bit on Netflix. Netflix scaled rapidly, but remained innovative. How do you prevent bureaucracy from killing innovation as a company grows?
It's a great question. And what you're really touching on is the role of culture in a company. It's funny because almost every company, when they start, has a really strong entrepreneurial culture because they're forced to. Like I would describe in our previous thing we were talking about, you only have a handful of people and you have thousands of things to do. You do not have time to have that bureaucracy like you described. All you can do is take these hand-picked people and say, okay, I need you to do this, and I'll meet you in a week, and I expect it to be done. And then you go do other things. And then in a week, there they are, and they figured it out. And you don't know how they did it or how they solved the problem or even what they had to bump into, but they get it done. The problem becomes when companies get bigger, someone who was supposed to be there at the end of a week is late. And it's easy as a CEO to say, oh, I can't be surprised like that. So I need everybody to do a status report. And everyone groans and goes, oh God, I hate that. And then someone shows up and they did it on time, but they spent too much money. And you say, oh boy, that's not good. All right, I need to pre-approve every expense over a certain amount. And everyone goes, oh. And what happens is little by little, you've created the beginning of a bureaucracy, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And I think one of the things that Netflix did very well was say, what happens if we fight against that? If we don't try and create a culture to protect us from people with bad judgment, people who are going to overspend or not get things done, what would happen if we created a culture for people with good judgment, who were competent? It's easy to say, but it was very hard to do. But it came from it really empowering people to make decisions on their own. And if you think about it, what people really want out of a job, it's not all the amenities you hear about. It's not, a fireman pole or a nap pod or kombucha on tap or all the other ridiculous things that companies do to try and make it a great place to work. It's fundamentally giving people agency, giving them the power to make decisions. And Netflix is a great example of that because, it's easy, as I said, when you have 10 people. And it's hard when gets a bit harder at 100, but still doable. It's hard at 1,000. It's really hard at 10,000. And Netflix has more than 10,000 people and still operates that way by giving people tremendous autonomy. And one last thing on that. We could speak this entire time about just that. But essentially at Netflix, a manager only has two responsibilities. And one is, are the right people in the right places, right seats? And two, have I given them all the information and context they need to make good decisions? And that's it. It's explicitly not make decisions. It's not review decisions. And as a result, the people making these decisions are the ones who are out at the edges of the organization, who are closest to the customer. So how do you avoid bureaucracy in a very, very big company? As you grow, you recognize how dangerous that is, and you fight against it every step of the way.
It is a fundamental concept. The culture is everything, fully aligned. Marc, you have witnessed several waves of technology reshape industries. And right now, the world is living through another one with artificial intelligence. You have seen how technology reinvents entire industries. What do you think could be the next Netflix moment in a completely different sector?
So the first thing I will say is, some people are very scared of AI and some people are very excited. And I'm a bit of both, but I would say that predominantly I'm very, very excited. And I'm excited because at heart, I'm an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're not excited about what's happening right now, there is something very, very wrong with you. Because the best opportunities for disruption and the best opportunities for innovation and the best opportunities for small companies to take on and dominate big companies is moments just like this. The internet flipped everything upside down. It changed the way that people communicated with their customers. It changed the way they provided services to their customers. And AI is going to do that on a much, much, much more profound basis. Every company is going to be affected and change the way they do business. They're going to have to. And it's an opportunity for you, and for me, for everybody listening to this, to say, this is my chance to actually do something differently. Now that all these large companies who've been defending themselves for years and years and years with legal barriers and logistical barriers and overwhelming amounts of people, those things now become negatives. It's incredibly exciting. So, but the specific answer to your question, which is, what am I excited about? I don't know what specifically is going to happen. I'm very bad at trying to predict the future. What's made me successful is not predicting which way the world's going to move, but by putting myself in a position that I can respond and take advantage of any direction it happens to go. So it's the worst time for bureaucracy. It's the best time for flexibility. Don't bet too heavily in one direction, but set yourself up to watch what's happening and jump.
Love it, love it. Worst time for bureaucracy, best time for flexibility.
Exactly.
I think we are both aligned that in this moment of artificial intelligence, we are going to have more entrepreneurs in the world. Are you correct? Are you aligned?
Oh, 100%. I think, if you think back 30 years ago to 25 years ago to when we started Netflix, we had an idea and it took us, months and $1 million to figure out whether we could try it or not. And even 2 years ago, I would have said, oh my gosh, it can't get much faster. Now we have these incredible tools that you can quickly and easily create a website and quickly and easily give yourself web presence and quickly and easily take credit cards. All these things I would have died to have had back in 1997. Now I can sit down and go, create the prompt, build me a website that, and I have it in 5 minutes.
Literally.
It's unbelievable. And it's so exciting because, I used to say that the distance from inspiration to validation was about 6 months. And then it shortened to maybe 2 or 3 days. Now it's 2 or 3 minutes. Which means that thing I always talked about at the beginning of our conversation about quickly, cheaply, and easily trying ideas, it's even shorter. So, the barriers for anybody who's sitting at home, maybe in some small village, a long way from an urban center thing, how could I create $1 billion company? Who knows where the next $1 billion company is going to come from, because they can come from any place now.
Let's go to the final question. Some
Great.
fear that technology can make us less human. This concept about the bot, humanity. What is your perspective on keeping humanity at the core of innovation?
That's a question way beyond my abilities to answer well. I can speak personally to it, I suppose. And it's like most things that if you're not really clear what you want, where you want to go, it's not very likely you're going to get there. And as you see the world starting to move into directions where people are disconnected from each other, you have to make the extra efforts. I mean, I personally do a lot of backcountry out in, climbing and backpacking and canoeing and surfing, because those are all things I do where my phone is sitting locked in my car, where we can sit around at night after hiking all day and have a conversation where there's no ability to quickly Google something and see. And it changes the way we connect with each other. And interestingly enough, we just had a really interesting conversation with my family. I have a house up in the mountains, and we had a family vote, and we're not going to put Wi-Fi in. It's off the grid. And so, but we said we want to have a place where when we go and spend time there, we're not all sitting around looking at phones. We're talking to each other. So all I can say is that be mindful of what's happening and protect your space, protect yourself, and protect each other.
Love it. Marc, an advice. You are an investor and a mentor. What is the most common mistake you see founders make when they are pitching an idea or a company?
By far, it's them not wanting to start something until they have proven to themselves it's going to work. Too many of the pitches I hear are people looking for some sort of validation. Here's my idea. You think it's a good one? Are you willing to put money? And they're doing research. And I go, I have no idea if it's going to work. You have no idea if it's going to work. What I want the pitch to be is, why do you deserve a chance to see if it might work? And let's find out together. So it's really this failure to start. That the key to my success, the key to every other big company founder you ever talked to, the key to all the people who are doing all the stuff everyone dreams of is that not that they have some secret technique, it's because we started. We took a ridiculous idea, DVD rental by mail, and started. And, Pez dispensers. Okay, there's eBay. Hailing a cab there is Uber. Can't get can't make my rent. They didn't start as big companies. They started because someone had a ridiculous idea and said, let's just do it. That's the single biggest mistake, is failing to recognize it's never going to feel comfortable. It's never going to be ready. It's never going to be guaranteed to be a big success. The only way to find out is to start.
Thank you so much, Mark. I think we can close this first interview. It's such an insightful conversation. You are powerful. You remind me about innovation is everything. I'm very excited to see you in Mexico City this 25 September. I hope that all of you that are seeing this come to the event and we have an amazing time. Thank you so much. Mark, do you want to say some words to the audience?
I just want to say, well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity to chat with you. And I do look forward to seeing you all in Mexico City. I hope you can join us. I'll be speaking in a lot more detail about how some of the things I'm talking about in this discussion, how to make them actually happen. And I'll tell some good Netflix stories too. I'll see you there.
See you there. Bye-bye.